So my topic today is really about in NEOM, what is, first of all, starting with a question I'm always asked, what is NEOM, which is a very important question. And then we'll talk about why is the metaverse so important to NEOM? Why is NEOM metaverse native? What are we doing on the metaverse now? And what do we plan to do to build a metaverse? And how does this metaverse look like in the future? And I think we'll have some time for questions and answers, hopefully at the end. So next slide, please. So the most simple answer, and there are many answers to what is NEOM, the most simple and clear answer that goes straight to my heart is we are an accelerator of human progress. And in all of its diversity, all of its challenges, and all of its beauty. And that's what drew me to NEOM and why I'm here. And sometimes I'm asked, so is it like a once in a lifetime opportunity? And I say, well, actually, no, it's much more than that. And I ask people, what would be a benchmark of an accelerator of human progress that can change the course of human history and become a beacon for learning and development and creating new cultures and new technologies and sustainability for maybe 1,000 years? And people struggle with that question. And I just want you to say that you're standing in that place that for me is the benchmark, which is Alexandria. And just over 2,000 years ago, I think a great leader once put a line in the sand and created a city that would be an accelerator of human progress. And largely, I believe, succeeded in those goals for at least 1,000 years and is still going after 2,000 years. So there is a precedent and this can be done. But we are so lucky and privileged to be working on this in this time and age that we haven't had that opportunity for many generations. So a bit more in detail, we are a region in northwest Saudi Arabia, so not too far from Egypt and Alexandria. And we are really well located at the crossroads of the world. Those crossroads have been crossroads of various types for humanity going back for thousands of years. And they are still very important for trade and for digital trade. Our goal is that we will be building a world-leading digital infrastructure with the latest communications technologies, but also based on 100% renewable energy, which is a big challenge, as you may be aware, because getting to 70, 80% perhaps is feasible if you have a lot of sun and wind, but getting to 100% requires a continuous base load. So we're taking that challenge. The three pillars on which we're building NEOM is sustainability, livability, and economic development. And I think you hear a lot about those three things now, but when I joined NEOM about 3 years ago, coming from the UK, it seemed to be a bit of an outlier in terms of strategy, that we thought that those three things could effectively fit together, and you could have economic development with environmental and economic sustainability and increased livability, and all of that with advanced technologies. But now I feel that it's much more mainstream after the stress and pressures of COVID on a global scale have caused people to rethink what's important in life. And I'm glad that we were already on this path before many others. The projected population of NEOM ultimately is between 9 and 10 million people by 2045. That is the longer term goal. We are building pretty much from scratch, so we're one of the most remote regions of the current Saudi Arabia, and therefore the population is very low right now. And we have no legacy infrastructure, which is a key advantage in building this future. And I'll talk about the regions in NEOM in a moment. And in terms of the regions, the one that I will mention now is Sindala, because it was announced just last week, and just too late for me to include in the slides, but we've included a line here, and you can simply Google Sindala and you will find more information about it. And that is the first of our island destinations. We will have another region which is focused on the islands in NEOM, and there's several dozen in the NEOM area. And Sindala is the first, and it will be ready to welcome visitors by the end of 2024. So we welcome you to come and visit. And I'll talk more about the regions in a minute. But the other things to take note, we're 40% of the world's population is within 6 hours of flying time from NEOM. We estimate 13% of world trade flows through the Red Sea. And I think it'd be interesting to speculate how much of the digital communications of the world flow through the Red Sea, because most of the subsea cables go through the Red Sea also. So it's also a key point in the digital trade. We're about the size of Belgium. And we are installing a business-friendly and progressive best practice regulatory environment. We will be a semi-autonomous region within Saudi Arabia, so we will have some autonomy across the policies and regulations within the KSA legal framework. And the other thing to notice is that while we're the size of Belgium, only 5% of that land use will be made available for urban development, and 95% will be protected. And we not only will protect that land, but we will enhance it through regreening and rewilding. And I think we're going to be planting 100 million trees in NEOM by 2030. And we've also started our rewilding program by releasing the first oryx that have been in NEOM for the last 100 or 200 years, which is really exciting. So that's about NEOM. Next slide. And NEOM is changing and evolving, and effectively, I describe this as kind of the Big Bang expansion of the universe of NEOM, where we have more and more announcements coming out. And here you have the 3 regions that were already announced. The Line, perhaps the most famous one for being a linear cognitive city without cars that redefines urban living. That is the main residential area where those 9 million will live. And where I'm sitting right now is not that far away from the Line. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it rise above behind me and watching it grow and develop. But it's going to be a very ambitious long-term project, which has just begun, but we've already started the build on the construction. Oxagon is our hub for sustainable manufacturing and logistics, and it's going to be a semi-floating city. We've started the land side already, and that's probably the most progressed in terms of construction already. And Trojena is our mountain resort, sustainable for year-round tourism. And again, that's already quite well developed. Sindala is the 4th region, and there's, I think, a few more to come. Next slide, please. So let's get deep into the metaverse then. So what's special about NEOM and the metaverse? And why are we saying that that NEOM is metaverse native? And what does that mean? Why are we different? Why are we special? Well, it's because we believe that the Line in particular is not only the most ambitious urban development ever attempted, it will host the world's first city specifically designed for mixed reality experiences. And this has several points to that lead us to the metaverse native aspect. So effectively, we are born in the metaverse. So the Line that I just showed you the picture of, it will be a metaverse first environment, because while the physical construction has started, the digital build will accelerate ahead of it. So we will build a Line in the metaverse before the physical one is built. And we believe that is a complete flipping of the current approaches to metaverses, whereby you could say they're Aristotelian in the way that they're trying to mimic the real world in the digital world, or they are completely separated from the real world through completely imaginary gaming type universes. And what we're doing is we're still very much linking the physical and the digital world, but we're starting with the digital. We're starting with the original idea, the thought, the essence, the creativity of what should the Line be? How should the future of living feel like? And we start with that, and then we try to build it as faithfully as we can. And that is what I refer to as the Platonic ideal of Plato's famous analogy of cave dwellers with a fire, and that all we perceive as reality is the shadows, their own shadows on the wall of the cave, but it's the best that they can approximate to reality. So this is what we feel we're doing here by trying to hold true to the vision of NEOM, hold true to this ideal of pure ideas as best we can. And we'll see how close we keep those shadows on the wall as we build the line. So it's digital first. It's idea and creativity and vision first. Secondly, it's a living lab for the line. The line is a massive project, as you can imagine. And effectively, we can use the metaverse to accelerate the development of the line by using it as a perfect sandbox to test urban designs, to test the future policies and regulations, to test the risks and the dangers of cybersecurity and everything else that you heard from with the hair just now, and really work out what are the risks and where should we adapt the design before we build it. But not only that, the metaverse will also be powered by the line. And this is a really important point to understand. Most other people, when they talk about the metaverse from IEEE environments, they will talk about the connectivity, the latency, what's required to increase these experiences. I'm not really going to talk about that because it's a given, because we need all of that technology to power the line. The line is going to be completely automated and based on AI at a huge scale. So we absolutely need to make sure that there's fiber everywhere and that fiber can be upgraded, and that we have 5G and future 6G and terahertz and all of the wonderful comm stuff has to be there just to run the line, just to power the line. So effectively, the metaverse just becomes an application on top of that muscle and firepower from connectivity side. So where else would you build it? We're not going to be building all that infrastructure just for the metaverse. We need it for the line anyway. And so it's just a simple application to say, well, it's the perfect place to try out the real fully immersive version of the metaverse in NEOM by leveraging that same technology. And I'll come back to that in a minute. The other exciting part is creating new realities. And I'm really excited about the work we're doing in our living lab here, that I've been speaking about convergence in telecoms for many years now, since about 6-7 years from my days in BT. But here we're taking it to the next level, and we think we can converge and disaggregate in some areas AI, AR, mixed reality, holograms, and robotics, and spread these across our urban environment to enable completely new experiences that are unchained from your existing devices. So you will be really free to experience these as you want. And also, again, avoiding some of those mutations or deformities that terrified us from Mutaher's description of today's children being impacted by VR, etc. We can avoid that because effectively we're freeing you up from the device and having you experience mixed realities in a human way that nobody else can. Next slide, please. So when I talk about metaverse native and metaverse native experience, what am I talking about? I'm sure you're asking, what is he on about? So here we've given you a little taste of what we're talking about here and what could be enabled. And effectively, we believe that this holistic metaverse native approach allows access to both the physical and digital worlds through multiple options. So putting the choice in your hand. And this is what this example, it just hopefully brings home why it's so different what we're doing here. And here I've just shown you a few selected subscriptions of a proposed subscription type model for what we call physical breakout. Physical breakout, inspired by the Doors song, of course, break on through to the other side, break out from the metaverse to the physical world. And we want to make that possible in many ways. And you choose based on what you want. And of course, there's a different cost for each one. But basically here you can see a few of them where a basic subscription means you can get into the mixed reality metaverse through the immersive platform digitally from anywhere in the world with no physical interaction with the people in NEOM. That's fine. However, if you want to be seen by people in the physical NEOM from, let's say, from Alexandria, from where you are now, and interact with them, the one option would be as an AR projection through our technology, but then people would need to have the AR glasses to see you. So it's quite limited, but we are designing the city to be principally experienced through AR glasses, because we believe they will be like headphones are today for your smartphones. In 3 years, it'll be the same thing for your AR glasses. We fundamentally believe that. However, to go to the next step where you're visible even without the AR glasses is the disaggregation of today's hologram technologies into our urban environment. Those could be fountains, they could be cafes, they can be other points of interest, they could be hologram statues that you can beam into. But we are working with the best hologram companies to disaggregate and spread them across the city. So you can be visible anywhere and beam in and be seen and see others and interact with people as if you were there. And then the next stage up would be the generic humanoid avatar for a robot. So robotic avatars is something we're experimenting with right now in our living lab. We have 3 of them already. And this technology is already there, but it can hugely be advanced by the convergence of the other technologies to become something incredible. And effectively, you could beam in and log into your own personal robot avatar. And in that case, you can do any activity you would normally do at home on a subscription basis. You can walk the dog, go have a coffee with your friends. You can go and do the shopping, whatever you want. And then you can stretch it. We have many other tiers of subscription where you can stretch this into the future, multiple personal avatars, and you can be in different locations at the same time, simultaneously, which is what we all know Pythagoras was able to do many thousands of years ago, before he was made busy inventing trigonometry. Next slide, please. The other way. Thanks. Keep going forward. Yeah. Forward, please. Next. There you go. So what are we doing now from my team's perspective? So we are creating this sandbox environment now to experiment and trial these concepts, connecting the physical and digital domains and these multiple metaverses. And we think this could become the basis of a prototype regulatory framework because nobody has that framework today. We're working together with the World Economic Forum on some of these aspects, and we have contributed to an interoperability paper that we believe will be presented in Davos in January. So this is all about collaboration. So what does it mean? So if you think about the subscription model I mentioned on the previous slide, I've just summarized it here in the physical world. That's where it would sit. It would be on the physical side of the metaverse, the physical reality side. And then that's the most kind of, I think, understandable element of the physical side of the metaverse. But there's others. So there would be obviously community as a service, digital advertising, an overlay over the physical buildings. So that could be digital billboards, digital advertising as AR or hologram displays. So there's a number of other areas that we would be looking to make visible and available to people in the physical world. And then we believe that there is a need for something called a metaverse hub for this mixed reality version of the metaverse. And that would control the one single reality of people and things and data in NEOM with the multiple metaverses that are emerging. And this is how we see it. We see it a multi-metaverse, and we see a single reality. And the hub connects the single reality to the multiple metaverses. And so this is what's really unique here. If we want to really go big into the future, how do we link this physical and digital world? If you have the technology to have that real-time feed, and you have a basic configuration architecture that these compliant metaverses can connect to, then effectively you can have multiple metaverses of various types. I've just put these names here just as examples, you know, the most well-known, Roblox, Meta, Microsoft, etc. Autonomous is our own NEOM native product that's coming out here. But effectively, you could hang them all in there. And then how would this look for a user? If I'm subscribed to 4 metaverses, then I would, and I'm in NEOM, I would have one real-time physical feed of my data in NEOM right now. And through the hub, it would be available to the 4 metaverses that I'm subscribed to in real time. And therefore, just like you can switch between channels on Netflix or TV today on your smartphone, in the future, you should be able to switch between metaverses. That's the goal of what we want to achieve. And to make that really clear, it should be completely seamless. And this is what we're going to implement now with some partners as a sandbox. And we'd like to invite partners from the metaverse world or other from the research world and the legal and the regulatory and the policy and the security world to come and work with us and look at these areas, simulate them, populate them with digital humans, and let's work out where the priority should be to use that as a single regulatory framework for all metaverses and for the mixed reality metaverse. And I would just say to just following on to Mr. Mutahir's presentation, this is actually safer than the real world. Sorry, it's safer than probably the real world and it's safer than the current web system, because all security systems today are going towards fingerprinting of physical aspects. Now, if you think about this, especially for people who are in NEOM and have their physical presence being projected into the metaverse, you've got a completely immersive fingerprinting of your presence. And that's a huge security advantage for anybody who wants to hijack your avatar, because you know exactly where your physical projection is. So it's the most secure mixed reality it's the most secure type of interaction you could possibly have. Next, please. And so what are we doing to enable this future? So right now we're, as I said, the cognitive city infrastructure is already in progress, the fiber, the 5G, the subsea cables, the satellite connectivity, the initial research work on 6G, all of that is in progress. So I'm not talking here about just connectivity, but other technologies we need to converge, the robotics, haptics, artificial intelligence, quantum compute. You've heard about some of these before. So most of these are pretty much there to experiment and mix and match. Robotics just needs to be advanced in terms of capabilities, but the basic infrastructure for these avatars is already in my office. You can come and try it out at any time when you visit us in NEOM. Haptics are there already, but we need to see how we can disaggregate them and spread them across the city. Artificial intelligence is there in a limited way, but I think AGI is the next step, and we're getting closer and closer to that, especially with things like GPT-3, which are quite impressive, but we're not quite there yet, another 3 or 4 years. Quantum computing, we just bought our first quantum computer, and we're very excited about what that can produce, as well as neuromorphic computing. So all of these are the technologies that we will converge to create this metaverse experience. Next slide. But it's not about technology alone, and somebody else has mentioned that before. It goes way beyond technology. So to create something this big at this scale and make it real and embed it into our cities, we need to do much more than just research, or much more than just sandboxes or proof of concepts. Can you move to the next slide, please? So effectively, we have a coordinated program through our living lab with a completely holistic approach, which is based on this cognitive foundation at the bottom of these enabling technologies of the connectivity, the AI, the holograms, all of that. But we feed that into what we call, first of all, the Advanced Research Institute for Cognitive Cities. Professor Jafar with Dr. Noha and my team is leading on that. And that's going to be the research institute with multiple projects that will be there to make sure we do the fundamental research to develop these technologies and converge them even further. It's an applied research institute. And then we feed those results into what we call the urban digital experience planning guidelines with our urban planners and architects. So they can actually feed these in to the designers and planners working on the line and embed them into the city. But we also have the policy and regulatory work, which is also feeding in from the same work and the sandboxes that go with it on the policy and regulations. So we can use the digital sandboxes on the mixed and future realities to understand where we put the focus on the future policies and regulations to make this real in the real world. And all of that then is fed iteratively into the creation of our cities. Next slide. So what could it all look like? So I think you've seen some of this perhaps in other areas, but remember, this is a mixed environment. So teleportation, many professors now are talking about that. We have that working now inside through our robotic avatars, where you can flip between one robotic avatar and another already on site. But of course, it's the experience, the speed, the immersiveness of that needs to improve. But effectively, you would be able to move from one area of the line to another area of the line in milliseconds through this experience, and possibly be in multiple areas at the same time, where you would have one AI, you would have one presence that you could control directly as a human, and your other presences you could control through your personalized AGI agent for you. And the unique society here, yes, it would look similar to what we see from other metaverses, but here, some of these characters that you see there will be in real life in front of you. Some of them will be as holograms, some of them as ARs, some of them as robots, and you may not even know the difference between them. So this is why it's so revolutionary. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, so we have this unique global opportunity once in history, I repeat, once in history, to truly merge this virtual reality with physical reality. And we invite you all and all partners and innovators from around the world to co-create this with us. It's something way too big for anyone to do on their own. So this is a co-creation and opportunity for the whole world. And we are different. I hope you see that now. We have this opportunity to design this first metaverse native city and cities in the world, where users experience the metaverse even without the need for glasses or headset and the negative effects that come from being chained to those devices. We can lead this metaverse development because we're already investing in the technologies that are required for those experiences through the line, whereas everybody else will need to have a plan to build those technologies specifically for the metaverse. So we should test it out here and then export it elsewhere when the technologies are available elsewhere. And we'll be a living lab enabling these new policies and technologies with your partnership to make this a reality.